deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bond stands alone.
Now Booker with Tucker on him. Throws it up for 8. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. What a block from Giannis.
17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan, open. Chicago with the lead.
Minute remaining.
And they're putting Curry in the pick and roll, trying to get him on Irving. Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
We're sending it in, Jerome. That's for damn sure.
Yes. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Taproom Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Stacks on Stacks, lads. Joined with my guy, Mr. Aaron Kidd, live from the East Coast, staying up late with us. Pleasure to be here with you. Last week we had a great week. We went 3-1 on the show on Bets We Locked In, which is very, very profitable. Hoping we can get back to that today. We kind of discussed some of these lines beforehand. A lot of these spots I like. I know you do as well. So I'm excited to go through some of these games and get some winners and get to the window. How you doing tonight, Aaron?
Jordan, as always, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here, and just want to say I lost a terrible bet on the Texas Rangers tonight. They go up 4-0, and then kind of fall apart there at the end. So I'm ready to get back into it and get back to getting some winners for us. So
let's go. We are being brought to you by Tavour. Make sure to go to Tavour.com or download the Tavour app straight to your mobile device and use promo code TAPROOM for $10 off your first purchase of $25 or more. That's craft beer delivered straight to your front door. You don't even have to leave your seat. What a noble concept. They don't deliver to every state, by the way. So if you're not in one of those states, I'm sorry. I apologize. However, we're here to talk some baseball. You know, we got a big weekend ahead of us. We also have a huge prize fight tomorrow night between Javante Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Before we get into the baseball, because I know you like boxing too, any leans on the fight, Aaron?
You know, I haven't really dove into it as far as from a handicapping standpoint, but I am very excited to watch the fight. So it's going to be two dogs in that fight, and I'm excited to watch it. So
yeah, I haven't really been impressed with Ryan Garcia as far as like the competition he's faced, and he's a good boxer. Don't get me wrong, he's a solid boxer, but I mean Tank is just, I think he's in a different level, and the odds basically say it. I mean Tank is what, like minus 600 right now, minus 650. I do think that if it goes to a decision, I think that benefits Ryan Garcia. But because Tank usually knocks his opponents out. But I do think, dude, if Tank lands one, it's lights out, dude. It's night.
It might be a quick night.
Yeah, so I am interested to see. Tank has fought some good fighters, though. You know what I mean? And he's fought much better competition, in my opinion, than Ryan Garcia's fought. So I think he's more battle-tested for this one. But I'm excited to watch it like you are. I don't really have any conviction on making a bet on it. I'll probably lay a little something at some point. But definitely excited to watch it. It's definitely the biggest fight we've had in quite some time. Probably since Wilder Fury, which was a letdown. But, it is what it is. All right, man, let's hop into some baseball. Before we get into the games, I do want to go over some trends that have been happening lately. So last time we spoke, overs were like hitting almost 60%. It's come back down to 52%. So we're seeing a lot of unders hit now. I think that has a lot to do with pitchers getting more used to the pitch clock. I also think there was a lot of weather conditions that helped unders this week. So that's something to keep an eye on. But we are seeing a lot. We are seeing lower scores since last time we talked. Dogs still hitting at 38%, a little bit higher than they were last week. So we are seeing some dogs hit. Home dogs, 32%, Aaron. Only 32%. Away favorites, 67% on the year, 76 and 31. Just incredible. incredible. Any thoughts on because I know last week we kind of talked about it a little bit. You were like, you know, if a team's better than another team, you got to kind of like just think about it like that. Are you still, that's kind of your mindset still?
To a degree, I still try to take things for face value. You know, I still think there's plenty of spots to back the dog, if you will, or things like that. And I'll go back into that with a little bit in a couple of these games tonight. But I definitely think some of these teams, man, you just got to take them for face value. And you know, as far as from a handicapping standpoint, you know, we want to get so hung up on teams that we thought were going to be good coming into the season. And maybe it's a time where we maybe cool off a little bit from those teams. You know, we don't want to throw out what we completely thought the whole off season. But once again, it may be a time that we're far enough into the season now where you can cool off on them a little bit until it's time to jump back in on them.
Yeah, I agree. Baseball's such an ebbs and flows season too. Like teams get hot, teams get cold, teams get hot. It's a very up and down season for sure. And I think people often forget that. You know, on Wednesday, you know, I was like, Nick Martinez on the hill against I forget who was pitching for the Braves. Oh, Charlie Morton. And I was like, bro, honestly, I don't even care who's pitching. Like, there's no way the Padres are losing 5 games in a row. They're too good of a team to lose 5 games in a row. Like, I'm going to back the Padres in this spot just because there's no way they're going to lose 5 games in a row. And sure enough, they go out and they win. You know what I mean? Like, there's teams that are just, you know, they're going through motions. You know what I mean? It's early in the season. There's a lot of baseball to be played. So it's just things to look forward to. But let's hop into our first game here. We have the Blue Jays against the Yankees. Alek Manoah against Garrett Cole. Normally, this is like an ace versus ace matchup. Alek Manoah has been absolute dog shit this year. The Yankees are currently minus 145 on the money line. Toronto plus 125. The total is at 7.5. And the run line minus 1.5. Yankees plus 140. Plus 1.5. Blue Jays minus 170. Alek Manoah, like I said, he's 1-1 on the year. 6.98 ERA. 1.97 WHIP. Garrett Cole 4-0 on the year, 0.95 ERA, 0.74 WHIP. What's your thoughts here? You're the Yankee fan. Let's hear your thoughts on this game here.
I was waiting for that to be brought up. So, you know, here we are 3 weeks into the season, like I mentioned, and the Yankees are the only team in MLB that hasn't lost a series yet. So I actually backed them against the Angels on yesterday and thought it was a great spot for them. You know, it was a standalone game at that 4:15 time slot, so I think the Angels gained a lot of traction. It's kind of that public dog we always talk about. You know, you just scroll through Twitter and you see everybody talking about the Angels yesterday. Yeah. And kind of went against the grain there. Took the Yankees, took it for face value. I thought it was, you know, it was an opportunity for them to clinch the series. And but hey, listen, the Blue Jays have kind of owned the Yankees at home since 2020. You know, it's a well-known thing. The Blue Jays haven't lost a series in the Bronx since 2020. But on the other hand, as you said, Yankees are my team. I absolutely love spots to jump in and bet them. You know, sometimes I don't like betting them when they're in the big spotlight like yesterday, you know, in that standalone game. But neither here nor there. I took it for face value. I think the Yanks this year are a great team to back off of a loss as well. So I was kind of glad from a handicapping standpoint that they did lose tonight because I thought it'd be a great time to jump back in tomorrow. They're 6-1 this year off a loss, especially at home. They kind of always bring a max effort off a loss. I spoke on the show last week about Anthony Rizzo, his bat that continues to be hot, and I spoke some last week about DJ LeMahieu getting healthy. You saw what happened the next day in that next game. I think he goes 3 or 4 or 2 or 4. Had a couple big hits there. You know, me and you have talked about it a lot on Twitter and some on the show too, but the Blue Jays since last year struggle to score runners in scoring position.
Yep.
Perfect example against Houston the other night. You know, they make it a 2-1 game. They go get bases juiced, no outs, and don't score another freaking run. And, you know, back to Manoah. He's gained some weight this offseason. He looks a little out of shape, if you will. If you kind of watch him, he kind of rocks now. He's doing like a rock here. And I think that's a kind of a problem for him. You know, he's given up 13 walks in 3 starts, which is kind of uncharacteristic for him. I actually had the Rays against him on Sunday and cashed that ticket. McClanahan kind of had a rough first inning, but he kind of settled in there, and Manoah gives up a couple walks, and before you know it, the Rays are up 3-0.
Yeah.
Cole, on the other hand, man, he's been hot to start the year. He's got an astonishing .74 WHIP, 32 Ks, only 8 walks in 4 starts. So it definitely seems like his command and approach is back to kind of that dominating force that we've come to know. And as of course, you expect some negative regression for him and some positive regression from Manoah, but I'm not so sure it happens tomorrow. I expect a max effort from the Bronx Bombers tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about regression, I mean, Garrett Cole, .95 ERA, but his xFIP is only 2.92, so it's, that's really good. Dude, it's not like he's pitching bad because he's using the sticky stuff again. So, it's working. But yeah, I mean, Garrett Cole has started the year really well. The thing with Garrett Cole is like you have to get to him early because that's usually when he gives up his runs because he gets better as the game progresses. He gets more locked in. So like if you're gonna get to Garrett Cole, you have to get to him early. That's when you can do your damage. And what bit him last year was the long ball. He gave up a lot of home runs, and this year he's given up 0 home runs, which is why his ERA is so good, and only a 2.17 average in balls in play. So really good. On the other side, Alek Manoah, his biggest problem is he cannot stop walking guys, dude. Every outing he's walking 4 or 5 batters. You know what I mean? 6.98 walks per 9, and he has a 6.98 ERA, but he has a 7 FIP, dude. So I mean, I don't see any positive. We know there's positive regression coming in the fact that like we believe Alek Manoah is a ace as he's proven to be. But I think you're right, dude. I think there's things that are wrong with him. I don't know if it's the weight or whatever, but he didn't throw a ton in spring training, right? And we're kind of seeing it pay its dividends here. He did not look good against the Rays, man. Like that was an ugly, ugly start. He didn't look good against the Tigers. That's a bad team. The only team he's looked good against is the Royals, and that team stinks, right? The Yankees are 11th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching. OPS is 761. Weighted runs against 7.5. A WOBA of 336. And strikeout percentage of 20.8. Walk percentage of 10. Like, they like hitting righties. They like hitting right-handed pitching. So I'm with you, dude. I think this is a good bounce-back spot. They lose to Yusei Kikuchi today. I mean, they got to bounce back, right? There's no way
Definitely feels like that.
There's no way you can't lose that game and then not come back.
And like naturally, I think that this team has been together long enough to know that they've kind of gotten owned by the Blue Jays at home the last 2.5, 3 years. It's got to be in the back of their head, man. And I think we'll get a max effort tomorrow. And the market seems to agree with us as I'm looking at some live lines right now. It's already moved up to -160 at a lot of your popular books there.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think the Blue Jays are a better team than the Yankees. I'm not going to lie. But I think this spot here, Garrett Cole against Manoah, the way these two are pitching right now, like at this point, like you got to fade Manoah until he proves you otherwise. So if I take the Yankees, I back the Yankees and I lose, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I still think it's a good play. You win some, you lose some. Like Manoah's got to prove to me that he is not this dog shit pitcher that his numbers show he is, and that he's proven to be this year. So I'm with you, dude. It's the Yankees or nothing for me. However, I do kind of like this under, Aaron, because I do think that Manoah is going to pitch better, but I could see this game being 4-0 Yankees. And that's the ball game. I don't know if the Blue Jays will score, to be honest.
If Jared Cole comes out and gives us the effort that he's kind of given us to start the year, and really we're saying like some people, if you follow Twitter and things of that sort, it's like they've never seen Jared Cole pitch before. This is the guy that we've come to know. Like you said last year, I think the Red Sox in a couple games got to him real early in the first inning. So that was a good point about you got to get to him early. But if you let this guy stick around in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, you do not want to face him in a 3-0 game or a 2-0 game in the 8th inning. I promise.
Yeah, that's how he is. But he's historically he is not good at Fenway Park. That's like in his entire career, not just with the Yankees. Like he's not a good pitcher at Fenway Park, so that's something to keep an eye on. Here, I want to get you his career splits real quick because I'm telling you, like you got to get to this guy in the first inning. Where is it? Where is the innings? All right, so first time through the order, Garrett Cole in his career, 2.8 ERA. Fourth time is actually the worst, but fourth time is like that's when you're in the ninth inning, you're gassed. You know what I mean? So he's only had 21 innings pitched in fourth time through the order, so I'm not going to give him a lot of hate there. But you definitely got it because second time through the order, 2.5 ERA, so he definitely gets better as the game goes on. The one thing I do think that benefits the Blue Jays is like they do have a really good lineup, but like you said, you know they don't hit well with runners in scoring position. They're like 23rd in the league in WRC plus with runners in scoring position. 23rd. Dang, I said that right off the bat. 90 WRC plus with runners in scoring position. So that's a continuation from last year, and that really dogged them for most of the year last year. Towards the end of the year, Bo Bichette got really hot, which helped them. But man, they seem to, once runners get on, man, they just forget how to hit, or they put too much pressure on themselves. I don't know what it is, but so you're on Yankees. I like Yankees. I also lean the under, but I like Yankees money line more than anything on that game for sure. All right, let's move on to our next game. We got the Miami Marlins against Cleveland. This is going to be the first of a doubleheader tomorrow. This one's at 3:10 p.m. Eastern time. The game got rained out today between Braxton Garrett and Zach Plesac. But Sandy Alcantara and Shane Bieber are going to take the mound in the early game. Miami's currently plus 120 on the money lines. Shane Bieber and the Guardians minus 140. Alcantara comes in this game 1-2 with a 5.47 ERA, 1.14 WHIP. Shane Bieber 1-0 with a 2.88 ERA and a 1.12 WHIP. What's your thoughts on this game here?
Yeah, so it's kind of wild with the game with the game today. You know, they'll face each other 7 times out of like the next 10 days, I think it is. So should definitely be some interesting ball games. I'd say it started out on the right foot today, man. It was kind of a wild one today. If anybody watched that game, the White Sox pretty much had it wrapped up, and then here comes the Rays.
Come on, wrong game. We're talking Marlins and Guardians.
Oh, apologize, Jordan. That's on me.
Next game. Next we're doing White Sox. Next we're doing White Sox Rays.
Yeah. So anyway, excuse me. So the White Sox, we kind of talked about the Yankees. You know, where they haven't lost a series all year. The White Sox haven't won a series all year. So we're kind of on the opposite here. They will face each other a bunch of times in the next 9 days. It was a wild game. Sorry, Jordan. I am having a hard time hearing you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're on Guardians Marlins.
Yep. So we kind of spoke on the show last week about the Marlins struggling to score and kind of struggling to hit the ball. Well, unfortunately, that kind of same fate has hit the Guardians a little bit. They've kind of landed some cold bats there in Cleveland. They were a team at the beginning of the year that I talked about a lot, and I know a lot of people did that thought that they may benefit from the ban of the shift. They're kind of a team that hits for contact. Hasn't necessarily been the case to start the season yet. When you go back and look, man, Cleveland's just averaging just over 3 runs a game in games that didn't go to extra innings. Yep. I think that's good for 26 in the league. Ramirez and Naylor, they definitely hit the ball better against righties than they do lefties. So that should help, in this one. And when you look at Sandy's ERA, I'll kind of take that with a grain of salt because he got blown up against the Phillies pretty bad there.
He got blown up against the Diamondbacks too, though. But obviously
that's right. Yeah. But got blown up against the Phillies. That game was pretty interesting. But here we go again. Now they've had a couple days off with the rain out today. I think that'll probably benefit the Marlins some as if you went back and looked, their bullpen had pitched like 33 innings in the last 6 games, or 8 games, excuse me. And so that should help them. Once again, here we go. We talk about Shane Bieber, too, on the other side. He's kind of gotten a little, like a fine wine, aging pretty good. I was surprised to see him get blown up against the Nationals last weekend, though. That was kind of an anomaly. I think the Nationals struggled to hit the ball, too, but they kind of blew Bieber up. But maybe the Guardians had a wake-up call against the Tigers. They kind of get double doink there and double hitter and come off and squeeze out a win there at the end on the next day. So maybe that was a wake-up call for them. I do expect this game to probably be low-scoring. I feel like this would be a game that you make a couple mistakes, man, the game's probably gonna be out of your hands. So should be a good one. I didn't really have a strong lean on this one either way, Jordan, but I do think it should be a good game.
So like my thing with Sandy, and I said this numerous times last year, and like he struggled the second half of last season, is that he literally hates to walk guys so badly that he will literally throw like a 2-0 fastball like right down the middle, like just to not walk a guy. And I think teams have kind of figured that out after last season. We kind of saw it at the end of last year. Teams kind of figured it out. We were like, they'll let him work himself into a hitter's count because they know he's just gonna throw a fastball right down the middle, and then they just load off on it. I think we're kind of seeing that this year. With that being said, like I've never thought that Sandy had like this as good of a pitcher that he is. His strength is that he's a horse. Like he can go deep into games. He usually gets better as games go along. But like I said, he pitches the contact more often than not. And with the shift being banned, that's where we're seeing a big difference, because now everything where that was hitting the shift before, and keep in mind the Marlins were a top 5 team in shifting last year defensively. And now you're seeing him 288 average on balls in play. His last 2 games over 450 with average in balls in play. And those are the 2 good teams that he's faced. I mean, he's faced 4 good teams if we're being honest all year, but he faced Arizona and Philly his last 2 games. Those are 2 good offensive teams. So I am a little concerned with that. However, the Guardians, like they struggled to score last year as it is. Like they won a lot of 2-1, 1-0, 3-2 type games. They're still gonna have to do that because they don't really have a lot of power outside of Jose Ramirez, and like Oscar Gonzalez is supposed to be that guy, but he struggles to make contact. They signed Josh Bell, who's supposed to help him hit lefties. He's hitting like 170. I mean, this team is just like they're just allergic to hitting, dude. That's just I've come to the realization of it. And the Guardians are a team that I love. I love Tito Francona. I think he's one of the best managers in all of baseball. I think this game here, I think the best bet, to be honest, is the under 7.5, under 8. I don't think there's going to be a ton of runs scored. I think both these pitchers are really good. But if I had to play this, I'm going to play the Marlins on the money line, only because Shane Bieber, good ERA, 2.8, but 4.3 Sierra, and a 3.9 xFIP. So we will see some negative regression coming from him. Only 6.48 K per 9, 289 in balls in play. So I lean Miami plus 120, but I like the under in this game because both these teams are allergic to hitting. So I think
that's the only way I could look at it as well, Jordan. Like I said, I didn't have a strong lean in this game, but I definitely think it'll be a low score game as well. And maybe whoever makes the less mistakes, wins a 3-1 game or something.
Yeah, and Cleveland's probably the better defensive team if we're being honest. But both these teams against right-handed pitching this year, 24th and 26th WRC plus. So neither one of them very good against righties. And to be honest, the Cleveland Guardians aren't much better against lefties either. But
and when you look at Sandy's splits, he's kind of struggled against righties this year.
Yeah, because his main pitch is a sinker. So, if he's leaving it up, easy to get.
He's allowing like 297 to righties, only 218 to lefties. A couple home runs he's given up has come against lefties, but he's actually struggled against the right-handed pitchers. So, right-handed hitter, excuse me.
And I think that benefits the Guardians because the Guardians have a heavy left-handed lineup, right? With Kwan.
That's right. Well, yeah, and Ramirez
Weaver.
bat switch, but yeah, I think that may actually benefit the Guardians more than I originally thought it would. So, if for the sake of the show, if I had to give out a lean, man, I would actually lean the Guardians here.
No, because he's pitching better against lefties, and the Guardians' three best hitters are left-handed.
That's right. Yeah, Quan is too. Yeah, so I guess I agree with you on the Marlins there, but I think this will just be a stay away game for me.
Yeah, if I'm gonna play this, it's gonna be the under for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe play the first 5 under. Although I like playing full game unders with the Guardians because they have such a good bullpen that they don't really give up a ton of runs regardless.
So I'll say something real quick, Jordan. I actually don't play a lot of first fives. I never really have. Just for I feel like when you're looking at a game, I feel like you're looking at the bullpen as a handicap. Usually more times than not, a weakness to the other team is so it goes both ways, man. I don't play a lot of first fives. I actually prefer full games because I think part of the handicap is the bullpen, especially if some of your high leverage guys have been used a lot.
Yep.
Things like that. So, people have asked me on Twitter, I get questions sometimes, why don't you play first five, and of course tonight, if I would have played the Rangers in the first 5, I would have won. So tonight is kind of not a good example of that, but there's been more times than not where if I look to play a team in the first 5, especially if you're laying that half a run and, the game's tied 4-4 after the first 5 innings, but then they pull it out, 6-4 at the end or 7-5 at the end. So that's why I don't play a lot of first 5s personally.
I'm not a fan of laying or catching a half a run in first 5s, but I do like, for instance, I like the Angels yesterday first 5 because Sandoval is a solid pitcher, solid starter, and the Yankees were like 16th going into yesterday against left-handed pitching, WRC plus. So I was like, oh, was a good spot. And who was throwing for the Yankees? Cortez. And the Angels,
yeah, Nestor, Cortez,
and the Angels are second in WRC plus against left-handed pitching. So I was like, oh, this is a good spot. But I don't trust the Angels bullpen, so I was like, there's no way they're gonna win the full game because Patrick Sandoval, he only averages 5.1 innings per game, so he's not going deep. And I know the bullpen's gonna blow it. So I like the Angels first 5 money line. They were plus money, so it's not like it was a lost a lot, but so there's some spots in that instance where I like playing first 5, where I know the bullpen is such dog shit or that they're so tired. Padres, for example, yesterday against the Diamondbacks, both those teams, their bullpens were taxed yesterday, and the Padres, they were up 5-1 in the 4th inning, and fucking Michael Wacha gives up 4 runs. Of course, pushes. It is what it is, but I think there is instances where a first 5 bet is good because you don't have to worry about the bullpen, especially if you don't like a team's bullpen. But in those instances, you're usually paying a tax on the first 5 anyway, which you might want to stay away from. For example, if you have a dominant starter like Dylan Cease tomorrow against Shane McClanahan, you're going to pay a tax playing the White Sox first 5, but the White Sox bullpen is so bad, as you saw tonight, that I don't think you could play that team for a full game. I just don't think it's possible. You know what I mean? So you gotta kind of weigh the pros and cons of it all. But I do see your point of not playing first 5s. I think that there is a lot of funny business that can go on in that time span. All right, so you got no play on Miami Cleveland. I lean the under. Let's move to those White Sox and Tampa Bay Rays. Shall we?
Yeah, and I apologize. I got my new AirPods in, and I totally lost sound there for a minute, so I apologize. But anyways, yeah, like I was saying earlier, the White Sox and Rays are going to face each other a lot over the next week and a half. It was certainly a wild game today. Luckily, I was on the over, which hitting the top of the 3rd inning. So, the Rays lead the majors in home runs. Their bats have showed no signs of slowing down at all. I keep saying, they've got to slow down at some point, right? But they just haven't. And with McClanahan on the mound tomorrow, As I said when we were kind of breaking down the Blue Jays, I was on him against the Blue Jays last Sunday, and he comes out there. He struggles a little bit in the first inning. Believe he allows a run, and it's like 3-1 after the first inning. But then he just settled in, man, and just kind of took over. You know, I compared it almost to like a point guard in basketball when he's just like, give me the ball, get out the way. You know, and he's not even looking to pass. He's just taking it right to the rack every time. And when you look at some of the underlying metrics with the Rays, they're like first in the league in every offensive stat. You know, runs, batting average, OBP, slugging. And when you look at the pitching matchup, it kind of goes to the other side too. I was really curious to see if McClanahan and Dylan Cease could kind of carry that momentum of last year, where Cease really kind of burst out there. And McClanahan's got an incredible 1.13 WHIP. He's averaging like 2.5 Ks per walk. On the other side, you try Dylan Cease out there, who's I think is one of the best pitchers in the league. He's mowing people down, 1.07 WHIP, 2.4 Ks per walk. He did get hit pretty hard against who I think is a good Orioles lineup. I think they can really hit the ball. And, I expect him to come back fully focused and ready to give a great effort today. You kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. It is hard to back the White Sox right now, though, just because of their bullpen. Their bullpen's one of the top 2 worst bullpens in the league.
The worst bullpen in the league.
So when you got one of the worst bullpens in the league, it is hard to back them, no matter who you got on the mound. They've lost 7 out of 9 games, and man, it would be hard for me to fade the Rays in this situation, even with Cease on the mound, until I see more from the White Sox bullpen.
Yeah, their bullpen 6.68 ERA with a 4.63 xFIP, just awful. With that being said, I think both of these pitchers, so they're both 2 of the best in majors for sure. McClanahan 1.57 ERA, 3.58 xFIP, 3.93 Sierra. Dylan Cease on the other hand, 2.01 ERA, 3.96 Sierra. So I think they're both kind of in the similar boat. The one thing too is the White Sox hit lefties pretty well too. 101 WRC plus, which is down from last year, but last year they were like the best team against lefties. Like they got dudes that rake lefties. I know losing Jose Abreu hurts that in some aspect, but they're still a right-handed dominant lineup with like Lubob and Eloy Jimenez and what's that dude's name? Vaughn and what's that other dude's name that plays right field? The white dude.
Jimenez. I can't say his name.
Eloy and Lubob are definitely righties, but their lineup is like right-handed dominant. Is what I'm saying. So it definitely benefits them facing lefties. However, like McClanahan's not your normal lefty. He's a dominant pitcher. And Tampa Bay's number 1 against right-handed pitching with a 154 WRC plus. There's no one even close to him. So I tend to this is a game where I can't play the White Sox full game. I would take McClanahan. However, I think minus 180 is way too steep against Dylan Cease. I think that's like disrespectful. So I would look to play the White Sox first 5 money line. At worst, you might get a push, get your money back. Plus 155 is disrespectful to Dylan Cease. So that man is way too good to be a dog at that number.
I will say something add to that, Jordan. We're talking about bullpens. The Rays pretty much pitched a bullpen game tonight. So they took 37 pitches from Jalen Beeks, 55 from Criswell. Beeks has kind of been one of their go-to high leverage guys too this year, so that could play a part in your handicap as well. But the 6.68 ERA for the White Sox isn't even accounting yet Lopez's 9th inning blow up tonight. So yeah, it is just horrendous, and it would just be impossible to trust them in a full game right now.
And on top of that, the Rays' best relievers, Fairbanks, Adam, they didn't pitch today. So, and they haven't pitched since. Adam hasn't pitched since Monday, so he's well rested. Poche hasn't pitched since Monday. He's well rested. These guys are they got a lot of innings left in them for this game. I just think that like I could see playing Tampa Bay full game, but like laying -180 against Dylan Cease is that's bold. That's very bold.
Yeah, I agree. And, there's a reason, right? If you look at some of the lines at some popular books, they're shading the over in this game. So I guess they're expecting runs.
Well, it's at 7. That's why. Another good trend too. Over 60% of games, if you like playing Yurfie or Nerfy, 60% of games 7 or less, when the total is exactly 7 or less, 60% go Yurfie. There's a run in the first inning. So if you're a Yurfie,
I never got it too big into the Nerfies, Jordan, but
no, it's a stupid bet, dude. Don't play it. Don't ever play those.
I will be honest. I did hop in on a couple Yurfies earlier this year when the Braves won like 9 in a row. It's like 9 in a row Yurfies, and I was just like blindly tailing it for like 4 games. And I was like, I probably stop doing this now.
It's just a bold bet because like there's only 6 outs, right? And
That's right.
Anything can happen, dude. You know what I mean? Like there could be an error that leads to a run, and it's like you lose in an inning. So it's just like it's a lot of.
My favorite ones were, or my most hated ones, when it was like the bottom of the first inning, 2 outs and 2 strikes, and a guy just like yanks 1 yard, 440 feet.
Yeah, bottom of the first too. Yep. Yeah, had that happen one too many times. I mean, to be honest, I don't really play a lot of Yurfie Nerfies. I'll like look at spots and see if I like them. Like, for example, the 7 or less runs, I usually play the Yurfie just blind because it's going to be like plus 150, and they hit 60% of the time. So it's like that's a good value bet based on the numbers. So usually I'll play Yurfie in that spot, but yeah, there's some where you look at 2 pitchers like McClanahan and Cease, you're like, oh, neither of those guys are gonna give up a run. You know what I mean? And there's gonna be some fluke run because on top of the White Sox bullpen being bad, they're also the worst defensive team in baseball. So it's like anything can happen. Like last game against the Orioles, Cease gave up 4 runs, but only 2 were earned.
Right.
So that's baseball, man. Baseball is a very funny sport, Aaron, as you know.
Yes, it is, man, with a whole lot of variance.
A lot of
use
variance.
that word, variance.
A lot of variance. It's like college basketball.
I agree, 100%.
All right, let's move into our next game. We got the Padres against the Diamondbacks. We got Joe Musgrove making his return, Mr. 5 innings or less. Joe Musgrove going against Merrill Kelly. Joe Musgrove, obviously his first start, 0 ERA. Merrill Kelly 1-2 with a 2.53 ERA, 1.27 WHIP. Right now, San Diego -150 on the road. The total's at 9.5. What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, if anybody's been listening or has followed me for any amount of time, they know that I was very high coming on this D-backs, very high coming into the season on this Diamondbacks team. I think they're a young, hungry team. Corbin Carroll has been as advertised, exactly how I thought he would play this year. Pretty sure he's still 3rd in the league in stolen bases. And you kind of touched on it earlier. If anybody watched that game last night, I watched almost all of it. They fell behind like 4-1, end up coming back, tying it up 5-5, and that kind of goes into what I'm getting ready to say about them. I think the Diamondbacks profile awesome as a home dog. They are a hungry young team who day in and day out give a max effort. You don't see too many what I call just layoff days. Hey, we're just going to go out there and go through the motions in 9 innings. They could have easily just packed it in yesterday and get beat 9-1, and come into the night limping in. But instead, they fought back and they gave them the Padres everything they wanted yesterday. On the kind of other side of that is the Padres, and I mean, you have a guy, when you say these names, Bogarts, Soto, Machado, now adding Tatis back in there, and they still can't hit the ball. If I keep looking away from the camera, it's not that I'm not listening. I'm actually watching the Diamondbacks right now kind of run the Padres off the field. And here we go again. The Padres just can't hit the ball. Now, at some point, they're going to figure it out, whether it takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but they have not figured it out yet. And it would be hard for me to back the Padres here. I actually am leaning towards taking the Diamondbacks plus the 1.5 at home. You can find it around minus 130 right now. And that's kind of the range where I think you need to stay in if you're going to take the plus 1.5. I don't advise ever take anything over about minus 135. But I think plus 1.5, man, at home with Kelly on the mound. Musgrove, he's going to have some rust to knock off. I think it may be the play.
Yeah, I mean, you might be onto something. The crazy thing about both these teams, dude, is like they haven't had a day off in like 10 days. So their bullpens are both taxed, dude. Like absolutely taxed. I mean, you look at their bullpen, like the usage is just out of control in the last week. Like even yesterday, if Brett Honeywell didn't give the Padres 3 innings, they were absolutely screwed. You know what I mean? But he gave them 3 innings. Josh Hader, he's thrown 32 pitches in the last 2 days. Like he's not even available to pitch tonight. So it's probably a good thing they're losing because he'll be available tomorrow. Brett Honeywell not available tonight. Like they are just so taxed as a bullpen. Both these teams are. Andrew Chaffin and Mantiply haven't pitched. Those are the 2 best relievers for the Diamondbacks. They might not even have to pitch tonight. I don't even know, have they pitched tonight? No, they haven't because Gallen went 7 innings.
That's right. Yep.
So they'll be good to pitch tomorrow. So I think with that being said, I like the Diamondbacks bullpen a whole lot better than I like the Padres bullpen. And the Padres bullpen is taxed. On top of that, Joe Musgrove cannot get through a lineup 3 times. He literally can't, dude. He has like a 6 ERA after going through a lineup 3 times. I lean the Diamondbacks here, man. I'm not going to lie. It might be a best bet. I don't like that, Musgrove. I mean, I'm sorry, not Musgrove. Merrill Kelly, 2.53 ERA, 4.79 xFIP, and a 5.11 Sierra. So he's definitely due for some negative regression. But the Padres as a team, they're only hitting against right-handed pitching, 93 WRC plus, 261 balls in play, and OPS at 693. So they're not necessarily tearing the ball off. But like you said, at some point they're going to figure it out. Their lineup's too good. I hate to bet against them, and it happens to be the day they figure it out, which always kind of concerns me. But I'm kind of with you, Aaron. I kind of like that plus 1.5 play.
Yeah, I love the plus 1.5. A lot of people say play the plus 1.5 with the away team, but I actually don't mind it with the home team, because how many times have we seen a game be 5-3, and then a guy gets walked, at the bottom of the ninth there, and the guy hits the ball and hits a little grounder, gets into second, and next thing you know, we got a 1-out double, and the guy scores, and the game ends 5-4. I love the plus 1.5. Not just taking it with the away team. I don't mind taking it with the hungry dog home team too. That I can trust fully. They get up there to bat bottom of the ninth. They're down 2 runs. Man, we're gonna get a max effort. So I like the plus 1.5.
Might also look at San Diego first 5, because we know Musgrove can't go through a lineup 3 times, but he can go through a lineup 2 times. And the second time, we're getting him through 5. So that's something to look at too. And the Diamondbacks haven't been great against right-handed pitching either this year. Against right-handed pitching this season, they are 21st WRC plus with 91. So again, they're not really tearing the ball off either. Something to look at. So maybe Padres first 5, Diamondbacks full game plus 1.5. I think those are 2 pretty solid plays right there. I kind of like both of those, to be honest. I don't really play a lot of run lines, to be honest, but that might be some good stuff. All right.
So so with run lines are tricky, and I know I talked about it last week some, but I do play a lot of. I suggest getting a book that'll let you play -1s. I love taking favorites with -1s. and you can really get the juice down because, as I explained last week, I don't like taking a lot of plays over minus 135 is about my limit. I'd rather get the -1 at -110 than lay the run line. And there's been 3 games this year that I've played that I've pushed on where I was on the favorite. The favorite was heavily juiced on the money line. I take the -1 and they win by 1. But I'd much rather push those games than lose those games because, if you're laying -160, -170, you basically got to win 2 games to account for 1 loss.
Sure.
So I think good bankroll management, man, is something I learned a long time ago. And it's something I have to be strict on myself with, and I suggest everybody else doing the same.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. It's great advice, especially for new bettors. Bankroll management is definitely key. You know what I mean? I think that's something you could tell everybody that, but that's something that they have to learn themselves, dude. You got to go through it. You know what I mean? Everybody goes through it. Even the best handicappers I've met in my entire life. I've heard stories where, they lose everything on a play, and that's how they learn their lesson. It's just you got to go through it. All right, let's get some. Let's get some best
Diamondbacks
bets.
just are running the Padres out now, man. Which
Is this still 5-0?
Which in essence kind of makes me like the Diamondbacks less and less tomorrow.
Yeah, off the blowouts. Yeah, 7-0 now. Whew. All right, Aaron. What's your best bets for tomorrow?
Man, I've already locked it in. I'm getting ready to fire a tweet as soon as the show's over with. But my best bet for tomorrow is Yankees -1 at even money plus 100. So if you don't have a book that can play the -1, there's plenty of formulas out there. You can just Google it and how much you want to bet, how much you need to put on the money line versus the run line to essentially get you the -1. So as I said earlier, man, the Yankees know the Blue Jays have owned them. They kind of got embarrassed tonight, 6-1. They didn't hit the ball very well. This is a perfect spot that I love coming back with the Yankees at home with because on a Saturday day game at Yankees, Cole on the mound, Manoah struggling, I got to go with the Yankees. So Yankees -1 at plus 100, even money.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm gonna go with Padres first 5 money line. I think that's my best bet, and then I'm also gonna go under 7.5. Yankees and Blue Jays. I don't think it's gonna be a high scoring game, dude. I think Manoah kind of comes back down to earth tomorrow a little bit.
And for my last best bet, I'm actually gonna look to kind of go against things that we talked about, and I think I'm gonna take the over in the White Sox and Rays game.
Over 7, White Sox, Rays.
Yep, White Sox, Rays over.
Yankees
and
-1.
that'll be my other best bet of the day as well.
I'm going San Diego first 5 money line under 7.5 Yankees. Blue Jays, let's go. Let's get it. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for Aaron for joining me once again. We'll be back on Friday, talking next Saturday's slate. We've been blessed with two weeks in a row with some good pitching matchups, dude, for Saturday's lineup. So excited for this Saturday. So again, Aaron has Yankees -1 at plus 100, over 7 White Sox and Rays. I'm going San Diego Padres first 5 money line and under 7.5 in the Yankees and Blue Jays. I also like White Sox first 5 money line. I also like under 7.5 Guardians and Marlins tomorrow as well. Leans though. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back on Sunday with Irvin and Ben. Will be recapping the week, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB, etc. We'll be looking at some Major League Baseball as well, previewing the week ahead. Like I said, I'll be back next Friday with Aaron. We'll be breaking down some more Major League Baseball. Hopefully we have as good of a week as last week. 3-1 this week, or better than 3-1. We're going 4-0 this week. 4-0. Let's get it, Aaron. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a blessed night. Let's get this. We out. Late.